com. I'm Gary Hess, News Radio WRVA, the voice of Virginia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Virginia, where the laws are new, the courts are busy, and everybody's asking the same question. Do we still have a Second Amendment in Virginia? Or did they hide it in the fine print overnight? The people read the headlines, then they read the law twice, and still nobody knows who's wrong or right. Do we still have a Second Amendment in Virginia? Can somebody tell
And
Richmond
that's the big question people keep asking. Do
Do
we really have Second Amendment rights in Virginia, or are we watching them be chipped away before our very eyes by some people, the General Assembly, that have written some laws that I don't know how they're going to stand up under judicial appeal or review? So where are we with all of these laws? Is the AR-15 ban still in effect, even though there's a statewide injunction saying that you can't enforce it? Could you still go out and get one? What happens if that gets overturned? Would you be breaking the law? I've said this all along. These have been run either one of two ways: by complete incompetence, or they did it on purpose in order to expand the gray areas and continue to chip away at our Second Amendment laws. Let's find out. It's 8:35 this morning on News Radio WRVA. Joining us right now on the program is Justin Davis, the Director of Public Affairs for the National Rifle Association. Full disclosure, I am a member of the NRA, and he's joining us right now on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so do I still have Second Amendment rights in the Commonwealth of Virginia? I don't know if you liked their song or not, but there's a lot of people that are still scratching their heads over some of these bills that have been signed into law that seem like they're going to get set aside, and the injunctions that we have and the 4 lawsuits, plus the DOJ. My head's spinning. You take over.
Well, it's certainly been a busy time in the Commonwealth, right? And I think we all knew this was coming the second that Abigail Spanberger was elected into office. She made it clear she stands with the Bloomberg Group. She stands for bad policy over the Constitution because that's good politics for her. And so we've seen a slew of anti-gun bills signed into law here, including the so-called assault weapons ban that you mentioned before, which she herself had admitted was likely unconstitutional and had a lot of issues, including banning turkey hunting shotguns and all kinds of things. So this is not just what they would typically call a quote unquote assault weapons ban. This is a wide ban on semi-automatic firearms across the board. So that's obviously not going to stand in any state, especially not in our backyard here in Virginia. And the NRA took her to court, and we've won the first step. We've secured a statewide comprehensive injunction to make sure that while this court process plays out, which will likely be a lengthy one, Virginians have access to their Second Amendment rights.
But what does that really mean? Because Jay Jones has come out and said, yes, even though there's an injunction, we're still going to enforce this. We're going to fight this. Does that mean that I should feel comfortable going out and buying an AR-15 today?
Well, I think Jay Jones has been repeatedly, since he's taken office, wrong on the constitutional front. I mean, he lost his redistricting case. He lost this case so far. So, I would caution people by using Jay Jones as their legal advice. That being said, there are obviously, with these gray areas in the legal world, what you can and can't do. And so, we are fighting hard to make sure that that gets wrapped up as quickly as possible. So there is no issues for both FFLs who want to sell their top selling products and Virginians who want to buy them. This is a continuing, evolving process. So I recommend people go to NRA.org to sign up for alerts, because we're giving people updates in real time when we have those updates, so they know exactly what's going on. But you're absolutely right. It's a messy, messy time in the Commonwealth.
So let me read between the lines. We're in limbo. We really don't know until these get adjudicated.
Correct. So what we really need is the Virginia Supreme Court to weigh in and say this is obviously unconstitutional. The preliminary injunction made it clear, both in our case and the other cases, other counties, that the merits of this case, that this law is unconstitutional. Now, preliminary injunctions are great in that it stops them from being enforced. It's telling law enforcement officials across the state they cannot enforce it. But when you have a political activist like Jay Jones, the Attorney General, there's always legal issues there. So we're working hard to get this resolved as quickly as possible. But it is a major victory going forward.
So just so everybody understands, the injunction says you can't enforce the law. It doesn't void the law, so the law is still on the books. It's just not being enforced right now.
Correct. So
Okay.
until that is struck down in its entirety, this is just the first step to say you can't put this in effect while we work this out.
The DOJ, I know that they are looking into this and they're planning on filing lawsuits saying that this violates the Second Amendment. Where is that?
Yeah, of course, we've been incredibly lucky that the Trump administration, with Harmeet Dillon and Attorney General Todd Blanche, have been incredibly proactive in defending these rights. Like us, they told Abigail Spanberger if she signed this law, they would take her to court, and they fall through just as we did, just as they've done across the country. So it's great to have partners with the federal government coming in to say, look, you obviously cannot have this law. So it's a big, big help to have the federal government on your side, because our strategy at the NRA was not just to take it to state court. We took it to state and federal court. So we're taking every single possible avenue we can do to strike this law down as quickly as possible. And we're glad the federal government is working with us, not against us in that process.
All right, we're talking right now with Justin Davis, NRA, Director of Public Affairs. Again, lots of confusion, and I think there'll be more confusion. So I made this statement. You tell me whether I'm right or wrong. The bottom line is, whether these get struck down or not, whether these are enforced or not, whether these are overturned or not, you still have put a cloud and a pall upon my Second Amendment rights in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and you've normalized me questioning, double questioning, looking over my shoulder, or being comfortable purchasing a AR-15 or any of the rest of these gun laws that have gone in. You now cause me to think, you cause me to pause, you cause me to not understand that I have rights guaranteed by the framers of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights, that I have the right to these weapons, and now that's under a cloud of suspicion. To me, that's just as bad as passing these bad gun laws that take away my Second Amendment rights.
You're right. So this is all part of their master plan, right? It's to complicate the Second Amendment and scare people away from exercising their constitutional rights. It's about making first-time gun buyers so confused when they walk into a gun store of what they can and can't have, or how they do that, or if they're allowed to have it, they never actually go and buy that gun. It's about making people so concerned that if they carry a firearm for safety, protect their family, that they'll be pulled over and arrested just for trying to make sure that their community is safe. It's not about good policy, like we said before. This is about good politics and how they can move that Overton window to make people have less and less guns, so they aren't exercising their rights. They don't respect their Second Amendment rights. They can, over time, diminish and eventually eventually your Second Amendment rights.
And again, listen, I want to make sure that I'm being fair. So I'll play devil's advocate with what the anti-gun lobby has to say. We don't want to see people being hurt. We don't want to see mass shooting. We don't want to see any of that. But I also look at it. One of the gun laws that they passed was that you can't transport weapons in a vehicle. It was kind of convoluted. Basically, it would take the opportunity to have armed security guarding different places like churches and schools and things like that. That got wiped away in some of these gun laws that they passed. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just so over the top. I'm wondering, was this done on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, this has nothing to do with Virginia. This is all a trial of balloon for other states and for the midterm elections. The Democrats and anti-gun advocates want to take over Washington and pass these same exact laws. I mean, look what the senators from Virginia have already said. They've already submitted legislation to the Senate to copycat what they're doing in Virginia for the whole country. So they're trying to see what they can get away with, how the population reacts, and what they can get away with in the court. So this is not just a feel-good measure to see what they can do to advance public safety in Virginia, because in reality, it has the exact opposite. It's about what can they pass across this country to strip people of their rights.
Okay, again, what should our listeners do? What should our listeners know? I always tell people this, and I've found this from lobbyists. They tell me, when you call your senator, people are like, they don't call me back, so it's not worth it. I explain to people, the more people that call, it ranks on a scorecard. That scorecard goes from the receptionist and the interns that are answering the phones. It goes to the chief of staff. It goes to the legislative aides. And that's how you get things on the agenda and you get on the radar of your different legislatures. So you might not hear back from them right away, but it is worth making that call, writing that letter, or sending that email. It all adds up to put pressure on them to address these issues.
Yeah, before I was in the public affairs world, I was both a political staffer and then I went on to be a lobbyist. I can tell you right now, reaching out to your lawmaker is the number one thing you can do. And we actually make that incredibly easy through the NRA. If you go to NRA.org to sign up for those updates, you can actually kind of click a button, the take action button on those alerts, and you can write into your lawmaker right away. So we take out the effort in there. It makes it pretty easy for folks. But even if you don't get a letter back right away, they're getting that tally at the end of every day saying, wow, my phones are lighting up because these pro-gun constituents are very worried about their rights. So it does matter. Make sure you're contacting your lawmakers. And the biggest thing you can do is go vote. If you have pro-gun majorities in the House and Senate and the governor's mansion, if you have pro-gun judges, this becomes a whole lot easier because you don't deal with these fights in the courts. You don't deal with this muddying of the Second Amendment. You're stopping the problem before it begins. So get involved now. Start making a plan how to vote in the midterms, how to vote in your upcoming elections. And at every level, whether it's your select board, your school board, or your governor or the president of the United States, vote for pro-gun candidates.
Justin, I'd love to have you come back on the program because we're running out of time. I would like to try to talk through some of these laws over here, pro and con, and play devil's advocate for you just to make sure that we give everybody every piece of information. Because I'm sure there are some people that have goodness in their heart and they're trying to do the right thing that might be on the other side of the aisle for you. I don't want to paint everybody as just a horrible human being on the other side, but I'm sure there's some things that we can find where we can bring people together and have what they call, and I think this is the biggest misnomer of all time, common sense gun laws.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come on anytime. I love the work you guys do, and it's a very complicated time in the Second Amendment world. We're here to make sure that your listeners and folks throughout the Commonwealth have that information to make the right decisions for them and their families.
Justin Davis, Director of Public Affairs, NRA, our guest here on News Radio WRVA. Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right. You want to comment, folks, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. You hear he let the secret sauce out of the bag when he was a staffer and he worked in for a legislator. It's not that when you call, it's not that you want a response. You want them to respond to you personally. There's a tally board that they all have in those offices. And the more people that call, the higher that issue gets raised up on that tally board. That's how you get your legislators to act on these things. All right, we'll continue with you. Coming up at 9 o'clock, I do want to talk about Lindsey Graham, and I do want to talk about civility and politics. All that coming up here on News Radio WRVA. Today's program is brought to you by our friends at Loan Pronto.